This is All Around Northwest Ohio, a local news magazine highlighting the people, places, and events happening all around Northwest Ohio. Stay with us as we get started with our program right after this.
Welcome into All Around Northwest Ohio. Today we're going to learn about a very fun Saturday that you could spend, especially if you're a daddy. It's called Daddy Saturday, and I have Justin Batt with me right now, the gentleman that thought this whole thing up. Justin, good to have you with us.
It's great to be back in Bryan, Ohio.
You are a Bryan guy, so as we get started here, let's talk a little of your history. A Bryan boy, born and raised?
I am. 18 years in Bryan, Ohio, born and raised.
Yeah.
And, in fact, it's fun because it's been almost 20 years since I left Bryan after graduating high school. And I've traveled all over the country and even the globe. Mm-hmm. And people always ask, where are you from? And I get the pleasure of saying Bryan, Ohio, home of the Etch-a-Sketch and the Dum Dum Sucker. Two things almost everybody knows. Even in Asia, they knew what they were.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That is always the tie for most people, okay? They do know those two things, but
Sure.
It's hard to imagine they know it out of the country. So even in Asia, you've been all over the world, and people know Dum Dums everywhere. They enjoy Dum Dums in Asia?
They sure do.
Yeah.
So we could say Bryan's an international city in its own right. But growing up here 18 years, it was a fabulous place to grow up. Mm-hmm. I mean, Bryan is an incredible city, best place to live, year in and year out, small towns in America. And I was fortunate to have many of my formative years of my youth here and played sports, was very involved in football, baseball, basketball, swimming, and did about everything you could do with a ball or in an athletic capacity while I was here. And really just enjoyed the community, was very involved, and have great parents who helped me be very involved while I grew up here.
I was going to say, you kind of take after your father when it comes to that idea of anything with a ball to it, don't
Maybe
you?
a little bit, sure.
And hopefully you have all your mom's characteristics as well, because what a wonderful nurse that your mom is as well.
She is, though. They're both great servants for the community, and I learned a lot from them growing up about giving back and serving and having an attitude of generosity for sure.
So let's talk about this. You left Bryan, where'd you go?
So I was very fortunate to go to the national championship Clemson Tigers, Clemson University in South Carolina. And everyone also asks, outside of where you're from, what took you to Clemson? And I typically say Southern weather, Southern women, Southern food, and Southern football. And all four of those reasons took me south. And I married a Southern girl. I've eaten lots of Southern food. Had the best of Southern football at Clemson, and really enjoyed that Southern weather.
The Southern weather to anybody that's in Northwest Ohio right now is something that we would all like to have, and we're all hoping is coming our way soon.
That's right.
No doubt. Now, were you in sports at Clemson? Did you play any sports there?
So you know what? My senior year of high school here in Bryan, I was injured. I lacerated my kidney in my football season. It almost caused me to miss the entire season, but miraculously I came back and played 5 games, but it gave me a big paradigm shift on my life. That was my goal, to play college football and for a school in Ohio. But after that injury, I kind of redirected my path and said, I want to go a distance for school and stake out on my own, and I did at Clemson. And I honestly had my cleats in my hand. I was ready to go walk on to the football team. And different era back then than it is today, but I had no doubt I would have made the team, but I just felt this calling that I was supposed to do something else with my life. So I hung up my cleats and I decided to do everything else at the school and be very involved as a student and in leadership and other capacities.
Is that where you met your wife at Clemson?
It is, yes. I was one of those Northerners that came down and married the homecoming queen.
Oh, wow.
So, I did. Met my wife there. I was a year older than she was, and we were married about 1.5 years after she graduated from Clemson.
That's fantastic. Nowadays, you have 4 children?
We do. We have a daughter and 3 sons, 11, 9, 6, and 4.
Oh my gosh, that keeps you and your wife, I'm sure, very busy.
It does. We call it controlled chaos. So our pace is wide open all the time, but it's a great pace.
Now, obviously, you've come up with a new program, or it's not new anymore, called Daddy Saturday, but you have to have a real job, I would think. So what do you do Monday through Friday from 8 till 5?
So I had a long history in the healthcare career, and I am in a role now where I'm president of a healthcare consulting company. So I get to work with big life science, pharmaceutical companies, biopharma companies all over the world and help them advance some of their initiatives around health information technology.
All right, now let's get to the reason that you're sitting here. A couple of weeks ago, I had a flyer that was handed to me that said, Daddy Saturday is coming to Bryan, Ohio. Tell me a little bit about Daddy Saturday.
Yeah, so my wife is not only a great wife and a fabulous mother, but she's an entrepreneur. And over 10 years ago, she started her own couture bridal boutique in Charlotte, North Carolina, named after our daughter, Hayden Olivia Bridal.
Okay.
And being in retail and being an entrepreneur, she wore all the hats. So it caused her to work almost every Saturday when the business was starting. And so I was alone with Hayden Olivia from the time that she was about 2 weeks old. And it was Daddy and Hayden on Saturday. And then as more kids came along, Blaine was next, and then Mason, and then Easton. We had 4 children, and I was always by myself on Saturdays with the kids because Heather was working. And I supported her in that, and she supported me in being with our kids. And I quickly found out I couldn't just wake up and kind of walk my way into a Saturday, right? The kids had expectations. They wanted, it was Dad on Saturday, we want to have fun, we want to make this epic. So what are we going to do, Dad? What's the game plan? And so one of our children, Mason, I believe, affectionately named it Daddy Saturday. And on Wednesdays, they would start saying, hey, what are we doing for Daddy Saturday? And so I started setting the bar and creating activities and being intentional and planning our days together. And we started videoing them and just putting them on YouTube. And we started to get all this following, and the neighborhood kids were coming over saying, we want to do Daddy Saturday. Can we do Daddy Saturday too? And the other dads were asking about it. And I quickly realized that I had something special here, not just special with my family, but special that was beyond our family. And I also recognized that in my own struggles as a dad, it was hard enough for me to be intentional and engaged with my kids. And I imagine other dads were going through the same thing. You know, what do I do with my kids on Saturday? I'm tired from the week. How do I get the energy to be able to go and engage my kids in a meaningful way? And so we created the platform and not only did it with our own family, but decided to make it bigger than that and create resources and ways we could help other dads engage their kids as well.
So what types of things did you start with?
So we have probably built more obstacle courses and had more water balloon fights and time on the trampoline and race tracks, and I mean, you name it, right? It was a lot of the stuff we could find around the house or what we could come up with in our own backyard. And it started to become bigger than that, and of course, as I started to set the bar, I had to raise the bar each and every weekend, right?
Of course, and another kid comes along, so you can't repeat, I'm sure.
You got it. Yeah. So we started to just be very creative. A lot of ideas we sourced off of YouTube or from the internet that we saw other people doing things that were fun, and we kind of made them our own. And I'll give you 2 or 3 of my favorites. How about that?
Very good.
So we did one where we did a bubble wrap battle. So I went to Lowe's and I bought the largest rolls of bubble wrap that they had. And I came home and I literally wrapped my kids in sumo suits with the bubble wrap. We put them on the trampoline and they just went nuts and bounced and ran at each other, and we had sumo fights and wars, and they just had an absolute blast. The problem was the suits were so big. Mason was probably 4 years old at the time. He kept falling over and he's like a turtle. He couldn't get back up and he'd cry for help. But they had such a blast. We made jousting sticks and other, battle gear out of the bubble wrap, and they couldn't get hurt. They were protected by bubble wrap, and they just had so much fun. And the ridiculousness of their outfits is probably what made it the most fun. All right, here we go. The sumo trampoline match is about to start. In this corner, fighting in the pink bubble wrap, we have
CCP, Cotton Candy Power.
Cotton Candy Power. In the middle, fighting out of the all green corner, we have
Bone Crusher.
the Bone Crusher. And fighting in the green and white bubble wrap, we have
The Bulldog.
the Bulldog. All right, for our first fight, we're gonna have the Bone Crusher versus the Bulldog. Come over here, Hayden. All right, ding, 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 go. We also did a time where I rented a pickup truck. And we took baby pools, soft blue baby pools. We put them in the back of the pickup truck in the bed. We filled them up with water and water balloons. And then we drove around our neighborhood. We drive golf carts more than cars in our neighborhood, so it was safe. And the kids were in the back, we had music playing, and we drove by friends' houses. They had water balloon fights with their friends and got to ride around the back of the pickup truck in what we called pickup truck hot tub.
Oh, wow.
And just, again, had an absolute blast. So we got our pools ready. Now we're doing our water balloons.
Oh, that's heavy.
You're just gonna drop them in your pool?
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Stop! Don't throw it. Don't throw it. No standing up, Blaine. What's your action? Doing the GoPro. Okay.
And then another great one was we did a mystery box slip and slide. So we took 2 slip and slides and put them side by side, and we made a structure of cardboard boxes that had caution tape so you couldn't see what you were sliding into.
All right.
And I would go to the other side and I would put all sorts of things like whipped cream or peanut butter and jelly or mustard and ketchup, and whatever we could find. We even did sardines and some nasty stuff. But and you had to pick your lane. You had lane 1 or lane 2, and 2 kids would go at a time. And the unfortunate party that went into the wrong tunnel was going to get the surprise on the other end. And they all wore goggles because they would go through it and, I mean, just be covered in whatever slime or the pile of stuff that was in that mystery box. And they loved it. It was a fabulous time. And I even got to go down and do it as well. And of course, when I did it, they just put everything in one big pile, and I knew I was going to get hit no matter what happened.
The Batt household had to be the most popular household in the neighborhood in South Carolina.
It often is, but we welcome that and love the opportunity to have others over and partake in it.
Now, that has grown from there to what is now Daddy Saturday and what we're going to experience here in Bryant today.
Sure.
So explain to me now how you made that next step and what are you doing today?
So I did a TED Talk, a TEDx, about 1.5 years ago on the topic of fatherlessness.
Okay.
And really heard a lot of great feedback from other fathers who said, look, I'm experiencing the same thing. I want to be more intentional, more engaged with my kids, and I just don't know how. For me, 7 years ago, I had a moment that changed everything about my perspective on fatherhood. I took a risk, and that risk was to take my 3-year-old daughter on a daddy-daughter date night. Now, you may be saying, what's the risk in that? But I'll tell you, it put me at a complete place of vulnerability, a place that I don't often like to go. In fact, I was more nervous about that first date with my 3-year-old than I was for the first date with my wife. Because what do you talk about at dinner with a 3-year-old? Would she remember this? Would she care? And most importantly, would she think I'm a good dad? I cleared that head trash out and focused on why we were there in the first place. Because, see, I'm a believer that far more is caught than taught. And this was my way at a very early age of embedding in my daughter what a great man would look like when she meets the man of her dreams one day. You know, setting the standard for excellence in a man. The things of generations past, frankly, like opening doors, having manners, treating her and others with respect, complimenting her appropriately. Now, I remember like it was yesterday. I was in my suit and tie, and she was in the cutest little red dress, and we'd gone to her favorite restaurant where she was enjoying her usual, plain noodles with a hint of butter and a Shirley Temple. Well, we had wrapped up dinner and made our way down the stairs to the sounds of a 5-piece jazz band, and twirling her as we walked out the door to go next door to Ben & Jerry's and have dessert. We then walked across to the Charleston Market, and leaning up against the wall, we were doing one of our favorite things, which was people watching, especially the tourists. And as I leaned back, I put my hand in my pocket, and I felt the crinkle of the receipts from dinner. And curious, I pulled them out to see what I had spent on dinner with my daughter, and looking down, realized that I had spent over $70 on dinner and dessert with my 3-year-old daughter. Now, most of that was mine, but you get the point. $70 on dinner with my 3-year-old. And that's when it hit me, that perspective shift. No, Justin, you didn't spend $70 on dinner with your 3-year-old. You invested $70 in the life of your 3-year-old. And what a great investment it was. The first step was, outside of the TEDx, was developing a book. And so the book, Daddy Saturday, will be out, officially published June 2nd.
Okay.
And it'll be right before Father's Day for obvious reasons. And the book is filled with chapters and ideas and ways to help engage your kids in a meaningful way and change your mindset as a father, a caregiver, anyone who's with children, and help them be more intentional. And the whole principle is to raise good kids that become great adults. So the book will be the foundation.
Okay.
We've then got a playbook, which I have here today for the book signing. And the playbook it'll be an e-book that goes with the book, but it's got 52 ideas, one for each week of the year, on how to engage your kids in a meaningful way. And we even put a little section in there to make it epic, how you take it to the next level.
Sure.
And we also then, in the e-book, we linked the products to Amazon. So it's as simple now as you look at the idea and you say, I want to do a water balloon fight today. Well, then you order the water balloon straight off of Amazon. They show up your door 2 days later.
Wow.
So I've made it really easy for dads or caregivers to engage their kids in a meaningful way. And that's the next step. And then beyond that, it's a national movement. So we'll be doing more live events, creating more opportunities for fathers to come and engage with their kids in meaningful ways, and then take those practices home, engage with the platform. We're going to have community leaders, community coaches who will be Daddy Saturday kind of certified in their own markets, right, and create those ideas and events. And eventually the goal would be that, let's say we're doing a national water balloon fight, and that we have Daddy Saturday events going on in every city in the country, fathers engaging their kids in meaningful ways, having a blast, and all wearing the gear and posting it all over social media. and creating the movement that we all hope happens, which is engaged fathers and great kids.
That is amazing. That really is amazing. You couldn't have done that 20 years ago. I mean, social media, I think, has hastened this project along, I would think.
Absolutely. I mean, you could have done it in one market, right, in your own community.
Sure.
And that's where we're certainly starting, and that's important. But now the scalability of this, the ability for it to go viral in nature, is it's paramount. And I'll tell you, you make a great point, because what we found is what started as just me and our kids in the backyard has certainly gone beyond that. And sometimes people look at what we do and they're like, look, I can't afford to do that, or that's too extreme. And we went to the Super Bowl and got to do a Super Bowl experience before the Super Bowl with the kids for Daddy Saturday. It's unbelievable, right? But the point is that sometimes you have to have a bit of a shock and awe factor to draw people in,
Sure.
which is our goal, because they see the kids at the Super Bowl and they say, what's this all about? How do we do that? And now they're into the platform and they see the true principles, which are just engaging your kids with intentionality.
Our program will continue right after this.
Let's talk about the other side of this, because now we've been talking about the fun side.
Sure.
But there's really is a need nowadays for these young people to have a daddy or somebody in their lives to help them with these weekends or help them with their lives.
You got it. So when you look at fatherlessness and the epidemic that it is in our country, there's two versions. You have absenteeism, which is the presence of a biological father in the home. And it is a substantial problem, especially in some of our lower socioeconomic communities in this country. But that's something that, frankly, I don't really have the ability to impact. There's also presenteeism, which are all these dads that are in the home, but that are burnt out, they're tired, they're lacking the ability to engage their kids. That is my target audience. That's who I'm going right after. And as we say in Daddy Saturday, fatherhood's no longer a playground, it's a battleground. And we have to fight for our children. Probably the principal example of this are the millennial and the Generation Z fathers who are coming down the pipeline. Millennial fathers are already here, Gen Z's right behind them. And their parents have done a great job of raising them, but there's been some things societally that have perpetuated that generation can also continue, and they're going to be very negative consequences for our country. One of those is the fact that the millennials weren't allowed to fail.
Sure.
They were enabled,
Sure.
right? And as a generation, they have a lot of different nicknames, and it's not their fault. It's just the way that they're raised and the byproduct for society. But the challenge is that they were made to respect a hero. Typically, their father was the hero of the story. Well, Daddy Saturday is flipping the paradigm. It's all about making your kids the hero of the story and you serving as their guide.
Okay.
The children now can fail and succeed, and they have a guide to help them along the way. And what that does is it allows them to fail when they're 8, which is much different than failure at 28.
Yes.
Because when you fail at 28 and you've never experienced failure before, it can be catastrophic. But when you fail at 8, it's, I was running with my ice cream cone and the top fell off and now I don't have ice cream, right? We can recover from that.
Yes.
And you experience failure, and I use that as an analogy, but you get the point, that growing that over time. So there's a lot of really big impacts that we need to have on fathers today who are going to impact the children and shape our future in this country.
You know, I've noticed too with my grandkids, because I'm an old guy, so I'm not a daddy anymore. I am a daddy still, but I've got a granddaddy now more than anything.
You're fully a guide at this point.
Yeah, entirely. And I see that with these young guys now, that they are so intent on succeeding, okay, that they don't like to fail, okay, and they don't take it well. And I can look back in my time when I was a kid, and you did fail. You failed all the time. Things happened, and you got up and you dusted yourself off,
Sure.
and you moved on. But it does seem that there's an entirely different attitude in these young kids today than there were 50 years ago when I was in that spot, you know?
Yeah, it's as you said, it's been perpetuated, right? You look at your generation, and many of the people that are successful today are standing on a pile of failures. That's how
Sure.
they got to where they are.
Exactly.
And that was removed from our society to a large extent in this millennial generation. And so as millennial parents, they just need someone to wrap their arms around them and just reposition the philosophy a little bit. It's a paradigm shift to say, instead of you being the hero, which they all want to wear that t-shirt,
Sure.
it's saying, no, give that t-shirt to your kid.
Yeah.
Show them success or failure, be their guide. But you know what the coolest thing is? Once they get to that age where you're at, and now they're a grandparent,
Yep.
they've already assumed that guide role, and that's what's natural.
Yeah.
Because guess what? My dad, he is my hero. He always has been, he always will be. He didn't have to earn that from me.
Right.
And he's now, what I need from my dad is I need my dad to be a guide. To be a guide to me is a guide to my children. Make sense?
Sure, it
so
does.
It's a natural process if that happens that way.
I think the best boss I ever had, okay, I changed careers one time, And my boss looked at me on the very first day and he says, for the next year, I want you to come in every Friday and tell me all the things you did wrong.
Yeah.
And if you did them wrong, okay, we can fix them and I'll pay you. And if you tell me you didn't do anything wrong, I'm going to believe that you didn't leave your house on Monday, okay?
That's right.
And we're going to go a whole different direction, and I'm going to keep your paycheck, all right? Now, that seemed a little radical to me at that point in time, but I did learn that business, and I did learn how important it was to go out and have your failures and learn from them.
So I love that, and we do the same thing in our house. So let's not talk just theory. There's some practical application here. Is one of the conversations around our dinner table is I'll ask my kids, what did you do to fail this week? What did you fail at this week? Right? And if they can't come back and say that they didn't fail at anything, and oftentimes it's something small, like I didn't prepare enough for my test and I didn't get the grade that I wanted, right? It's something as small as that. But it's for them, they're recognizing that now. They're having that conversation, they're understanding failure, and we get to talk about it openly as a family. So it's not that I want to say you're encouraging failure, but you are to an extent. But it's failure within the protection of being a kid and having a guide there to help you through that. We all have an opportunity to set a bold vision, to cast a vision for what we want our families, our children, our grandchildren, and this next generation to look like. It all starts with intentionality. That's what Daddy Saturday is all about. It's about being intentional and engaging our children so that we raise good kids that become great adults. Daddy Saturday started out of my backyard because my amazing wife decided to become an entrepreneur and work at her bridal boutique mostly on Saturdays. Those Saturdays afforded me the opportunity to be home with my kids and engage them in activities and all sorts of crazy and fun things that we started to do, and it evolved into more than just us. And I found that I was having a hard time engaging my kids and coming up with ideas, and I saw that if I was having a hard time with this and I was in it and engaged in it, I could only imagine what other fathers were also going through. And that's when this platform became bigger than me and became an opportunity to serve others and create the opportunity to change fatherhood across the world. How do we do that? It all starts with, in our local communities, coming together and creating intentionality and opportunities where fathers, single mothers, father figures can come together, rise up, address some of these problems and challenges that we have by seeing what good looks like, and then taking that back into their individual homes and communities, and creating a movement that sweeps across this country. That's what Daddy Saturday is designed to do. We have a book coming out right before Father's Day, the Daddy Saturday book. That book will also be accompanied by a playbook. The playbook will be 52 ideas for how to engage your kids on Saturdays, one for each week of the year, right? 52 weeks in a year. And the book will be a digital format, which is going to be so cool because you can literally go in there, and if it says water balloon fight and bunch of balloons, it's like this water balloon thing where you can blow up like 130 seconds. If you've seen those, they're so cool. We've had many fights with those. And you can order it straight from Amazon, right off the site. You click on the button, it takes you right there. So it's as simple as clicking on the button and engaging in that idea. We're going to make it as simple as possible. We're going to build out community coaches, great coaches in each market who will champion this effort and create the dialogue and work with organizations like CAF to bring about these Daddy Saturday events like we had today. My hope and dream and vision is that, can you imagine, we'll go with the water balloon theme, that we've got a water balloon fight that's taking place across the country, if not the world. And everybody's posting their pictures on social media, and dads being dads are trying to one-up each other and make it even more epic than the other dad. That is the goal. And we can change this country by engaging and coming together in that respect. But we've got to do it together. We've got to do it with the principles of parenting. I gave you several tonight. Those are certainly not all of them. I go in great detail in the book about what they are. But it all starts in the home. And it all starts with intentionality.
If somebody would like more information about Daddy Saturday, is there a way of contacting you, or is there a website that they could go to?
Absolutely. So daddysaturday.com is the website, where you'll see all of our Instagram feeds, live videos there, and the site's actually being updated as we speak with the book and other content, so stay tuned. There's a newsletter you can sign up for on the site as well, and then we are very active across social media, predominantly Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, and our handles are always at Daddy Saturday on all of those platforms as well.
Anybody watching this right now, what is the one thing you'd like for them to take with you after your day here in Bryan?
I would say that they need to recognize that, as our tagline goes, fatherhood is no longer a playground, it's a battleground. We're all in this fight together, and it all comes back to being intentional. And if we can all rally around that cry of being intentional, then we will raise good kids who become great adults and will change the next generation.
Fantastic. Justin Batt, thank you. It was wonderful to meet you. It was always a pleasure to be around your dad and your mom here in Bryan. And good luck with Daddy Saturday, and thank you for all the things you're doing for all of our generations.
Thank you as well.
All Around Northwest Ohio, a local news magazine highlighting the people, places, and events of Northwest Ohio, is produced locally for TV by Richer Productions. If your group or organization would like to be featured on All Around Northwest Ohio, email Ken at WNHO.TV or call 419-572-4826. Thanks for watching. Join us next time as we go all around Northwest Ohio.